This audio reading is from the book John Ploughman's Pictures by Charles Spurgeon. Our selected reading is chapter 29, Stick to it and do it. Set a stout heart to a stiff hill and the wagon will get to the top of it. There's nothing so hard but a harder thing will get through it. A strong job can be managed by a strong resolution. Have at it and have it. Stick to it and succeed. Till a thing is done, men wonder that you think it can be done, and when you have done it, they wonder it was never done before. In my picture, the wagon is drawn by 2 horses, but I would have every man who wants his way in life pull, as if all depended on himself. Very little is done right when it is left to other people. The more hands to do work, the less there is done. 1 man will carry 2 pails of water for himself, 2 men will only carry 1 pail between them, and 3 will come home with never a drop at all. A child with several mothers will die before it runs alone. Know your business and give your mind to it, and you will find a buttered loaf where a sluggard loses his last crust. In these times it's no use being a farmer if you don't mean work. The days are gone by for gentlemen to make a fortune off of a farm by going out shooting half their time. If foreign wheats keep on coming in, farmers will soon learn that. He who by the plough would thrive himself must either hold or drive. Going to Australia is of no use to a man if he carries a set of lazy bones with him. There's a living to be got in old England at almost any trade if a fellow will give his mind to it. A man who works hard and has his health and strength is a great deal happier than my Lord Tom Noddy, who does nothing and is always ailing. Do you know the old song of the nobleman's generous kindness? You should hear our Will sing it. I recollect some of the verses. The first one gives a picture of the hard-working labourer with a large family. Thus careful and constant each morning he went. Unto his day labour with joy and content, so jocular and jolly he'd whistle and sing, as blithe and as brisk as the birds in the spring. The other lines are the ploughman's own story of how he spent his life, and I wish that all countrymen could say the same. I reap and I mow, I harrow and I sow. Sometimes a hedging and ditching I go. No work comes amiss, for I thrash and I plough. Thus my bread I do earn by the sweat of my brow. My wife, she is willing to pull in a yoke. We live like 2 lambs, nor each other provoke. We both of us strive like the labouring ant, and do our endeavours to keep us from want. And when I come home from my labour at night, to my wife and my children in whom I delight, I see them come round me with prattling noise.
Now these are the riches a poor man enjoys.
Though I am as weary may be, the youngest I commonly dance on my knee. I find in content a continual feast, and never repine at my lot in the least. So, you see, the poor labourer may work hard and be happy all the same, and surely those who are in higher stations may do the like if they like. He is a sorry dog who wants game and will not hunt for it. Let us never lie down in idle despair, but follow on till we succeed. Rome was not built in a day, nor much else, unless it be a dog kennel. Things which cost no pains are slender gains. Where there has been little sweat, there will be little sweet. Jonah's gourd came up in a night, but then it perished in a night. Light come, light go, that which flies in at one window will be likely to fly out at another. It's a very lean hare that hounds catch without running for it, and a sheep that is no trouble to shear has very little wool. For this reason a man who cannot push on against wind and weather stands a poor chance in this world. Perseverance is the main thing in life. To hold on and hold out to the end is the chief matter. If the race could be won by a spurt, thousands would wear the blue ribbon, but they are short-winded and pull up after the first gallop. They begin with flying and end in crawling backwards. When it comes to collar work, many horses turn to jibbing. If the apples do not fall at the first shake of the tree, your hasty folks are too lazy to fetch a ladder, and in too much of a hurry to wait till the fruit is ripe enough to fall of itself. The hasty man is as hot as fire at the outset, and as cold as ice at the end. He is like the Irishman's saucepan, which had many good points about it, but it had no bottom. He who cannot bear the burden and heat of the day is not worth his salt, much less his potatoes. Before you begin a thing, make sure it is the right thing to do. Ask Mr. Conscience about it. Do not try to do what is impossible. Ask common sense. It is of no use to blow against a hurricane or to fish for whales in a washing tub. Better give up a foolish plan than go on and burn your fingers with it. Better bend your neck than knock your forehead. But when you have once made up your mind to go a certain road, don't let every molehill turn you out of the path. One stroke fells not an oak. Chop away axe, you'll down with the tree at last. A bit of iron does not soften the moment you put it into the fire. Blow, smith! Put on more coals! Get it red hot and hit hard with the hammer, and you will make a ploughshare yet. Steady does it. Hold on and you have it. Bragg is a fine fellow at crying tally-ho.
But perseverance brings home the brush.
We ought not to be put out of heart by difficulties. They are sent on purpose to try the stuff we are made of, and depend upon it, they do us a world of good. There's a sound reason why there are bones in our meat and stones in our land. A world where everything was easy would be a nursery for babies, but not at all a fit place for men. Celery is not sweet till it has felt a frost, and men don't come to their perfection till disappointment has dropped a 1/2 weight or two on their toes. Who would know good horses if there were no heavy loads? If the clay was not stiff, my old Dapper and Violet would be thought no more of than Tomkin's donkey. Besides, to work hard for success makes us fit to bear it. We enjoy the bacon all the more because we have got an appetite by earning it. When prosperity pounces on a man like an eagle, it often throws him down. If we overtake the cart, it is a fine thing to get up and ride, but when it comes behind us at a tearing rate, it is very apt to knock us down and run over us, and when we are lifted into it we find our leg is broken, or our arm out of joint, and we cannot enjoy the ride. Work is always healthier for us than idleness. It is always better to wear out shoes than sheets.
I sometimes think, when I put on my considering cap,
that success in life is something like getting married. There's a very great deal of pleasure in the courting, and it is not a bad thing when it is a moderate time on the road. Therefore, young man, learn to wait and work on. Don't throw away your rod, the fish will bite some time or other. The cat watches long at the hole, but catches the mouse at last. The spider mends her broken web, and the flies are taken before long. Stick to your calling, plod on, and be content, for make sure if you can undergo, you shall overcome. If bad be your prospects, don't sit still and cry, but jump up and say to yourself, I will try. Miracles will never cease. My neighbour, Simon Gripper, was taken generous about 3 months ago. The story is well worth telling. He saw a poor blind man, led by a little girl, playing on a fiddle. His heart was touched for a wonder. He said to me, Ploughman, lend me a penny, there's a good fellow. I fumbled in my pocket and found 2 halfpence and handed them to him. More fool I, for he will never pay me again. He gave the blind fiddler one of those halfpence and kept the other, and I have not seen either Gripper or my penny since. Nor shall I get the money back till the gate-post outside my garden grows ribstone pippins. There's generosity for you. The old saying, which is put at the top of this bit of my talk, brought him into my mind, for he sticks to it most certainly. He lives as badly as a church mouse, and works as hard as if he was paid by the piece, and had 20 children to keep, but I would no more hold him up for an example than I would show a toad as a specimen of a pretty bird. While I talk to you young people about getting on, I don't want you to think that hoarding up money is real success, nor do I wish you to rise an inch above an honest ploughman's lot, if it cannot be done without being mean or wicked. The workhouse, prison as it is a world better than a mansion built by roguery and greed. If you cannot get on honestly, be satisfied not to get on. The blessing of God is riches enough for a wise man, and all the world is not enough for a fool. Old Gripper's notion of how to prosper has, I dare say, a good deal of truth in it, and the more's the pity. The Lord deliver us from such a prospering, I say. That old sinner has often hummed these lines into my ears when we have got into an argument, and very pretty lines they are not, certainly. To win the prize in the world's great race, a man should have a brazen face, an iron arm to give a stroke, and a heart as sturdy as an oak, eyes like a cat, good in the dark, and teeth as piercing as a shark, ears to hear the gentlest sound like moles that burrow in the ground, a mouth as close as patent locks, and stomach stronger than an ox. His tongue should be a razor blade, his conscience India rubber made, his blood as cold as polar ice, his hand as grasping as a vice, his shoulders should be adequate to bear a couple thousand weight, his legs like pillars firm and strong, to move the great machine along, with supple knees to cringe and crawl, and cloven feet placed under all. It amounts to this: be a devil in order to be happy. Sell yourself outright to the old dragon, and he will give you the world and the glory thereof. But remember the question of the old book: what shall it profit a man if he gain the whole world and lose his own soul? There is another road to success besides this crooked, dirty, cutthroat lane. It is the King's highway, of which the same book says, "Seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you." John Ploughman prays that all his readers may choose this way and keep to it, yet even in that way we must use diligence, for the kingdom of heaven suffereth violence, and the violent take it by force. This concludes chapter 29. Thank you for listening.